Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Veil background information. I'm doing a new category. Now I'm doing a new group within our species profiles. We're still in the night predators, but this time we're going to be looking at the shapeshifters, which is a smaller group than the other ones, but it should still be interesting. Like always, I'm going to start with a quote from one of my stories that mentions these characters. Then I'm going to give you the background information, the folklore or the mythology or the legends about these creatures. Then I'm going to give you a species profile. Okay, let's get into it. Shapeshifters. Well, they're viewed as the common people, and so their problems are always deemed more human, and their rank in the Vale is always at the lowest point on the ladder. That is, unless they are predatory and therefore stronger. It's an annoyance, and it's something that's meant for the largest group in the Vale. They've got the lowest representation in the council. Quote from the Viper King. Shapeshifters are an odd category within the Vale, and yet within mythology, the kind of magic, whether spells, shamanism, or just some natural magic within the animal or the person, shapeshifting is one of the oldest of such magic held within literature. It features in the Epic of Gilgamesh, in the Norse sagas, in Asian folklore, although we'll discuss the kitsune and their kind separately next time. Even now, if there is one thing any child always wishes in their games, it's always the chance to change into an animal, whether as a superpower or just to be like something else. So, at the very basic, shapeshifters, or rather shapeshifting, is the ability of one being to change their body to that of another animal or creature and then revert back. It is separated from werewolves and their ilk because it is not a curse linked to the moon or spread through contact. In modern fiction, shapeshifters are people born that way without much magic involved. They are merely an other. Just as they have existed as an other amongst the humans they live with, and that's often a theme in some folklore. But aside from being the other, most mythology has the magic as part of a shaman, wizard, or already a magic endowed being's powers. Gods are often the classic examples of shapeshifters, with Zeus and his zoo of different forms a great example of what a shapeshifter truly is. Now, shapeshifting is often a plot device in stories. How many children's stories do you remember with a character being turned into something and then being rescued from it by love or completing a quest? The Frog Prince is the most classic example of shapeshifting, but even the classic Beauty and the Beast, especially the most popular rendition, are good examples of the variation within it. One of my own favourite shapeshifting stories happens to be the movie Ladyhawke, and this is where the stories deviate a little from the fairy tale curse that can be broken to the means of gaining revenge against others. Other stories have beings changing shape in order to kill or kidnap, or undergo a kind of transformation to release a more inhibited and savage side. A classic example would be the Swan Princess story, in that she's trapped where she is and the magic means that she has no choice. But when the moonlight touches the lake, that's when she's human, and when it isn't, that's when she's a swan. Some even use it to escape. But when it comes to shapeshifting, particularly in European mythology, it is often marked more as the sign of a being being titled a shapeshifter. Indeed, there is one shapeshifter that almost everyone knows, and that is Loki, god of mischief. He is not the only trickster in mythology that changes shape, but he is certainly the most popular and the most interesting. Loki is a classic shapeshifter. He can change his form in order to escape, to be clever, and just to enjoy his life. He is imbued with a clever tongue and an ability to think fast, light, and actually convince others. This is something linked to shapeshifters, and most often why the image of a fox is linked to them and to tricksters in general throughout Europe. Shapeshifting, though, has been associated too with witchcraft, not only in the ability to curse others into changing into animals, but also a way in which they can experience their own powers, or through the familiars that work beside them. Shamanism also uses shapeshifting as a link to the other world in experiencing a different perspective, as well as to gain knowledge, and indeed to practice a darker side of magic. But we'll talk about that particular being you might already be thinking about when we discuss the Mara. However, the most commonly thought of and told stories are of wizards and powerful magicians shapeshifting in order to battle one another or indeed show off their prowess. The Sword in the Stone animated movie by Disney is a lovely example of this, with Merlin teaching through changing perspective, only to have to face down Mim in a duel. In fact, stories of wizards dueling often seem to come with stories of shapeshifting, whether they be turned into dragons or even into tigers or the wind itself to fight one another. But throughout the various, and it's so various, you might as well just be looking yourself to you might as well just go looking yourself to really understand individual ideas of shapeshifting. It's seen as something that unites a human to their wilder self. It is something that is as malevolent as it can be benign, and is, next to vampires, werewolves, and demons, one of the most popular tropes in paranormal romance today, because a shapeshifter is, fundamentally, human. That's the difference between it and the rest of the mythological species. One can't really point out one particular story of a shapeshifter, and there are no great shapeshifters that really stand out as being a shapeshifter, because it's always linked to godly powers or wizardry. That, however, is where paranormal romance, and indeed much of modern fiction, takes on the human element. In most stories now involving a shapeshifter, there is nothing different to them or the next person, except that they happen to have the ability to change into something. They walk and live among us with more ease, and they are as mortal and vulnerable as we are. They are us, and yet not. It's something we'll certainly discuss next time with the Kitsune, as they are perhaps the most useful way to describe shapeshifters, in a way that resonates most with modern audiences and can comprehend the aspects of the other that is not necessarily demonic nor totally wholesome. Within the Vale, shapeshifters are the equivalent to the human. They are the most common species on the planet, and are for most and are for almost every aspect human. They catch diseases, they can only live towards their 80s, they have addictions, they have hopes and dreams and desires that can be achieved in their short lifetimes, and they enjoy themselves. They are in fact very unique amongst the night predators and amongst the Vale, because though their ancient demonic blood meant they could change shape and can have the option to run with their instincts and live as wild animals rather than as humans, they do not have the boredom or the bitterness that comes with other species classed amongst the night predators. So here's about shapeshifters in the Vale. They go by the title of the fox because foxes are a symbol of tricksters, and because the Kitsune tribe are the ones that stand out amongst all shapeshifters. So, side neutral, created by demons fornicating with the children of man. Created purely through pleasure. Created when the very early days of existence. Physical description: they are human with all the same attributes, varieties in size and looks as well as all humans are. The only difference is that they can change shape into one species of animal, and just one. Abilities: they can change shape to one species of animal, and this animal often tends to show up in their look, and sometimes their personality, i.e. the obedient manner of a dog, the aloofness of a cat, the bravado of a lion, or the desire to follow like sheep. Most known for being the humans of the Vale. Weaknesses: same as all humans. Number: numerous, the most popular species of the Vale at over 10 billion. Well-known beings: various over the years, but the Kitsune tribe of Japan is the most well-known for their equal levelling with the vampires there. Characters and stories: Eris Akiro in The Weirdest Romance is a shapeshifter. That's one of my most recent books that I've released. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. Next time we'll talk about the Kitsune. Thank you. Bye.